We are here at the Long Beach Sunnyside Cemetery and Municipal Cemetery for the 27th annual cemetery tour put on by the incredible folks at the Long Beach Historical Society. People like me who grew up in Long Beach, we see street names and building names and we understand that there's stories and people behind some of those names, but we don't always get a chance to know what they are. And today we have an incredible group of actors who are going to tell some of those stories that are funny and heartwarming and really important to the history of our city. So tune in now to see one of those stories happen.
Greetings, fine people. My name is Dr. William Rosecrans Price, and this is my wife,
Ex-wife.
Mary Lou Price. Long Beach holds a very special place in my heart. My one lasting legacy is here.
It's special to me too because our two baby daughters, Kate and Susan, are buried here. Kate died in 1912 and Susan in 1916. But their graves aren't marked.
Let's get on with the story. I was born in Tennessee in 1863. I qualified as a physician and a surgeon at the University of Tennessee.
His name does not appear on any medical alumni lists of the time.
I also had a degree, I also had a law degree and hold a master's in psychology.
Neither of which can be substantiated.
Purely misunderstanding and improper record keeping of the day.
Misunderstandings, lies, and accusations followed him throughout his life. And too much of mine in retrospect.
My early religious instruction was in the Southern Baptist Church. I was raised in the Appalachian design of mixing Christianity and folk magic.
Many people at the time he was growing up believed that the mind was an infinite source of untapped knowledge and powers, and he had the ability to sell this magical thinking to willing audiences.
The brain is miraculous. Do not be tempted to discount my veracity or knowledge.
My husband had a gift of persuasion. He could make even vague terms like suggestive therapeutics sound like actual cures.
By tuning into these principles, an intuitive psychic power could be developed which would show the proper way to live.
Many people wanted to believe what he said was true, and I felt the same way for years.
Throughout the 1890s, I lectured, taught, practiced as a mesmerist, a hypnotist, all across the southern United States.
I met William at one of his lectures. Oh, he was magnificent. He wore this knee-length frock coat, and he would come on the stage and take stage and stand there in silence. And when he spoke, the audiences hung on every word.
I told them that their minds were strong. I told them that women were equal to men and should have a choice about who they married.
Those were exciting ideas to someone like me. Although I was married at the time. I left my husband to go with Dr. Price. We were married in 1891, and I will swear to this day he hypnotized me.
I filled auditoriums in Texas, Alabama, Mississippi.
While he was busy imparting his knowledge to his audiences, I was busy having children. Eventually we had 8, including the 2 that are buried here. 8 children in 5 different states.
In 1899, we arrived in Atlanta, Georgia. I established a school of psychology and a sanatorium specializing in the use of hypnotism as a medical treatment.
It wasn't long before people were wondering about his ideas. The Atlanta establishment wanted no part of his practice.
Just more small-mindedness.
We left Atlanta in 1901.
I'd heard good things about California. People said that it was the center of enlightened thought. So we headed west.
Attracting audiences was easy for William. He gave lectures in San Francisco and Los Angeles to big crowds and thousands of people. Eventually we settled here in Long Beach.
Long Beach. People interested in new ideas and help for what ailed them.
A perfect combination. We had children to raise. I was just hoping we could stay a while.
I formed the Psychic Research Society, and there was so much interest in my teachings that I wrote a book entitled The New or Practical Psychology.
William didn't just limit himself to traditional religious ideas or even suggestive therapeutics.
I mastered exotic techniques of interest to married men. I used touch and nerve stimulation to cure mental and physical pain in the members of the congregation. I charged a small fee for my classes and treatments, just $10.
A nice apartment in our neighborhood rented for $20 a month.
The society needed a place of its own. I had admired the Masonic Temple on Pine Avenue. It had enough room for their meetings and retail and sales space so that they could offset part of their income and
You know,
money they spent. Yes. Go ahead.
expenses, yeah. We had children to raise, and I didn't want him spending our money on his building.
I knew I could raise the money. It was a new opportunity for my followers, an investment in my psychic temple.
So William sold shares in the temple. He told people to mortgage their homes to get the money.
Which they did.
One man even backed a $25,000 loan just to buy the land.
In July of 1905, a groundbreaking ceremony was had in the very area that would be building my building. And in a few months from then, a cornerstone inscribed with my name was set in place.
It was a lovely building with arched windows and doorways, very much like the Masonic temple he admired. But by the time it was ready to be dedicated, enthusiasm for my husband and his ideas was starting to decline. As happened so many times before, the shine was off Dr. Price.
Some of my investors sued me, claiming that they acted on my hypnotic influence.
Don't forget the holy kiss.
I was simply proving the power of the human mind. I could kiss a woman and feel absolutely nothing.
William never seemed interested in kissing the older or unattractive women of the congregation.
My intentions were misunderstood.
Then came the plagiarism charges, when it was discovered that the ideas in your book were actually stolen from others.
Another misunderstanding.
By 1908, people once willing to mortgage their homes to buy shares in the temple were no longer willing to support it. So he sued them.
In 1914, the building sold at auction for $2,900, a fraction of its value. It was heartbreaking.
It became the American Hotel, basically a flop house.
But it's still there. My building's still there.
Miraculously, it survived your shenanigans and the city's disinterest in its historic architecture.
It's home to an ad agency now. It's a beautiful restoration. The exterior looks exactly as it did when it was built.
You know, you would think that some people would have learned from a debacle like the Psychic Temple.
In 1923, an attorney and former police chief named Edward Bangas and I had discovered hundreds of acres of land in Orange County were open to homesteading.
It was the Irvine Ranch.
Due to a defect in the original land survey, we believed we could supply the necessary information for a proper claim, and we'd only charge $200 for it.
You can imagine the Irvine Company's reaction.
Turned out to be the worst misunderstanding of my life. Ben and I were arrested for fraud, and we were the subjects of a congressional hearing.
You know, I stood by you for years through public arguments, private whatever. Jesus. Investment schemes and lawsuits. But when I came home from a trip back east to find you living with another woman, that was the last straw. I got a divorce.
I died 2 years after that. But the temple in which I offered the holy kiss still stands. And it's as beautiful as ever. Well, we'd like to thank you for joining us today and supporting the Historical Society of Long Beach.
But ladies, please, please, if you're ever offered the holy kiss, just say no.
Right here, just line $10.